Alright, here we go. Game number 1. And we can see a pretty decent starting hand. I think I would like to keep this around, so let's do just that. Remember, we try to be aggressive early on, early game. Aggression is what we do best with this deck. Also remember that this is a budget list. So going hard is what we do have to do against really strong, well-built decks. And seeing those colors already, we either win extremely early on or we won't succeed because this looks like heavy control. Seeing permafrost already also makes me think that this is gonna be hard. But we're gonna try to do our best here. We're already kind of slow because our first threat has been dealt with already. I suppose we go for one more justice here, equip sort of a Caria, get some damage going. Looks like they have an answer. Or fastspell. Could be equivocate right now, could be the wasp. Looks like it's not the wasp. At least not yet, maybe. We got some weapons we can put on this Crownwatch Paladin. And the enemy decides to go for all-out defense plan from the start, which is a fair thing to do. Also seeing that though, I think they might not have many answers around right now. So we're gonna try to push as hard as we can. That permafrost actually hurt us quite a bit. They would be at nearly 14 or 16, 14. Would have gotten 2 attacks by the Oni Ronin. So that could have mattered. Maybe it didn't. So we will let this resolve. I expect a harsh rule next turn. But I can't just wait and do nothing. Maybe that was just to pop the Aegis because they have whatever. You never know. Could be the case. It is equivocate. So we got around that by now. By just playing our big guy first. Because I suspect they would have just equivocated this guy. Maybe. If they have really nothing left right now. But it looks like they still have things around. So that was actually a mistake. Playing your threats before attacking makes them see what's coming soonish. So usually you go for the attack first, not even play the power, don't show anything, go for the attack, and then play your newest guy. So if they want to deal with something because they feel threatened, they will maybe blow something away they wouldn't even have to blow away in the first place. Time, just as primal control, and we are dying here. It's not worth just blowing this around because we still have something in our way right now. But that's gonna be a hard matchup anyways for every aggressive Rakano list, budget or not, it's not gonna matter. If they draw well, they win. If they draw badly, they lose. So it's not necessarily that we're on a budget in this list that we don't really get to our game plan, but the fact that they run pretty much only removal at this point. Most likely Sword of the Sky King, 8 attack, 8 armor, so that's kind of like a health buffer as well. As you can see, that was supposedly find the way. Yeah, it was. So most colors in this combination would run find a way to guarantee that they draw sigils out of their deck to meet the requirements they need. I expect we could see something like a Channeler Tempest. That could even be Temporal Distortion. Not sure about that, but I assume they would go for another sweeper here if they could. As you can tell, they try really hard to get stuff out of their deck to actually get good cards. We do have lethal next turn, so I would play around them not having anything by not playing right now. So let's keep the Crackshot Fugitive around for a bit. That would have changed nothing for us here. They got to 8 of the Huru, which stuns all of our units, draws them cards, gets them all tokens. and get some 4 ammo as well. They are attacking, so I suspect something bad like this. Maybe even another Great Parliament now to follow up. Or a Minotaur Ambassador works too. But we got pretty close considering we only run an extreme budget list with uncommons and commons. I think we're safe to drop from this game now. We could have tried, but one of the strengths of aggro decks, no matter if you're on a budget or not, is just the fact that you have fast games. So as long as you have more than 50% win rate, you will climb up no matter what. Also, you gotta consider the fact that we're playing against higher level players in general right now. So if you're just starting out, getting the sequences right might blow some other new players that are on a slower list than yourself out. Sometimes even hard because they didn't realize they could have changed something around that play. We got 3 power. We have 1 depleted, we have 2 depleted, we have 1 we could keep, which means we wouldn't be able to play that on curve only if we go for depleted first. I don't think this is feasible right now. It's pretty slow. We have so many 1 and 2 drops in the deck. So keeping 2 free drops seems not that great. Let's throw this back. I think I like this better. Could be wrong. We go for the undepleted power. Depleted this way around. We go for the depleted power first. Just get it out of our way so we don't have to chill. That's a bit meh, but nothing we can change about that. Let's play Rakano Outlaw first, which is one of our best units we have in the deck, especially if we equip a weapon. We could be killed by Torch here, which would set us back dramatically and start getting them war cries. The War Helm is kind of okay, I think. That's not too great. I suppose we drop the 3-2 here. We could see Rampage as well as Sugar Standard after 5. Ornate Katana. Yeah, you know for a fact I'm gonna trade this, sir. Oh, but you are not, right. We could go Unpredictable Outlaw here and drop the weapon on it. Exhaust the Oni Ronin through the special effect and get 4 damage in. Next turn we do have Finest Hour. We would also accept a trade with a 4-2 just to get it out of the way. That's pretty much, in an aggro mirror like this is pretty much an all-in at this point. We just gladly take this trade. We can defend our guy. I wonder. I think we still go for this first and see if they want to do some weird trades. It looks like they don't. We don't have to use the fast spell this turn then. Let's get some gunslingers out there with nice synergy. That works nicely. We could see Finest Hour, Ornate Katana, maybe even Overwhelm Weapon or something like that, considering they run the War Helmet for charge. We could see a lot of things here. It looks like they're kind of on a budget themselves. That doesn't kill anything here. They don't even go for the Spellcraft, I think. They do. I'm okay with taking 6 here. We have way more damage on the board. We get another First Shot Rider up in just a second. And we also have a Whirling Duo. Let's go for Whirling Duo here to get some more pressure going. We have some nice lifesteal right now, which will do work for us. We nearly had lethal there, not quite yet. The Oni Ronin won't change that. We will push through this. If I'm not mistaken. Another long barrel, which is a cool card, especially in mirror matches like this. But as you can see, it wasn't quite enough for them. And we basically won the board by blocking in a good way while they went greedy with their attack, with their first Oni Ronin. While they had board, they could have just stayed put for a second and be done with it. Let's see what they block here. We just pump whatever is not getting blocked and win the game. But most likely the 2-3, as it looks like. Oh. They're thinking hard, are they not? Let's get finest hour number 1, finest hour number 2. That's some decent reach there. And our Gunslinger synergy pretty much won us the game here. That was fantastic. A quick game, easily won by overwhelming the opposition on board instead of getting blown out with different spells and harsh rules and all that good stuff you guys know by now, probably. So I'm gonna be right back. And here we are again. Let's get maybe 1 or 2 more games in. I think it's, even though I was considering just cutting the loss, because in a video where I want to showcase a deck, I don't necessarily want bad games, if that makes sense, because if you just watch what other content creators do on YouTube, they most likely don't go for showcasing things that didn't quite work out. But I think in this case, playing a budget aggro deck like this, it's just important to realize that you're lacking a lot of tools at the moment. And that even though it might feel bad, it's not as bad as it may look. We could go for red here, get to 3, then 4, and get a Granadin. I think I'm okay with doing that, actually. Just planning ahead right now. I'm pretty sure I have to check the list later in case I'm screwing around right now. Ooh, that's pretty nice. Let's get quickly lost from our train of thought there. We take this without a doubt. Get 2 Warcries in already. Damn, what was I about to say? Now I forgot. Great. If I come back to that train of thought later, I'm gonna iterate on it. Let's see what Toast Face Killer is doing here. Seeing this list already, it kind of reminds me of the Tafrod Less deck that has been seen play by Second Blue, I think it was, in the ECL, in the Eternal Community League. Considering we don't have Gunslinger synergy right now, I go for the immediate damage here with the charge minion instead of the first shot rider. Just get some pressure going. Maybe they do something weird that they normally wouldn't do. People are pretty nervous about Whirling Duo just because it does so much for so little. We go ahead and torch this. We're fine with them having something. We will get this out of the way now. Even with Finest Hour, we don't care. They invest just as much as we do, even though we had 2 torches instead of just 1. But that is okay. Getting rid of the lifesteal and this big body that pumps other bodies. The Unseen Commander is just a really good unit to get rid of. They have to use a 2-mana spell to get rid of 1 minion, so they can't play too many things right now. And we see that is completely true. We will attack here. If they want to attack next turn, we will profit by attacking in with every single thing we have. They might get something like Bloodletter right now on their minion and get even more lifesteal. Which would be meh, but it will only delay the inevitable. So we definitely go for the push here. We might even see them hold back to try and get something good. Suffocate works. But that's not it yet. There's a Bloodletter. Nice. We'll see an attack then, I suppose. Yeah, we do. They get 6 health. So we're equaling out and deal 3 damage right now. We can actually deal more. We stack the weapon on this girl. Get some damage in here. Keep the chain running of the war cries. They will have to block this now. They heal for 5, which would make them be at 9. We attack with everything. Oh, he showed his Crown Watch tactic before I showed my thing. Alright. Well, you delay the whole thing for 1 turn. Yeah, that's what I thought. That works. So as you can see, I was thinking about making like a small introduction video about the whole budget system and how there's a small budget meta, if you could call it that. But I think Rakano just has the strongest theme and it just feels overwhelming. And the fact that even non-budget decks, let's quickly check this actually, just so you guys can understand what I'm referring to right now. What cards in this deck are actually being played in actual deck, in top tier decks, or in the best version of that deck? Finest Hour is most of the time a 4-off if it's being played. Torch is pretty much in nearly every deck that can afford to run it. Rakano Outlaw is like one of the premium early game drops in general because of the quick draw on Warcry. Crownwatch Paladin was one of the best 2 drops. And I think it even had a 2/2 stat line at some point and got nerfed already. Aegis Warcry is just ridiculous, especially if we get like a sword on there. Oni Ronin is still seeing plain Skycrack aggro, and all the aggro decks that are something red, they run Oni Ronin. Oni Ronin is aggro just as everything else on this list, and this is basically the aggro minion. Extremely premium with a 2/1 stat line, and the Warcry is just super beneficial if you get going early. Steady Marshal, really good. I think most of those dudes here. Whirling Duo is also being played in actual decks like Midrange Rakano in my main list that I posted here on this channel already. Ornate Katana is seeing play in Skycrack aggro and different red decks that go for a aggressive strategy. Especially nice to pair with Rakano Outlaw. So as mentioned, we lack late game, but if we can push through in the early game, it doesn't really matter that much. I'm unsure about the unpredictable outlaw this far. It feels lackluster, but it has a gunsling attack, so we can get our first shot rider, our crack shot fugitive, and steady marshal going faster, which is nice. Just more stats on the board makes us win the game way faster. But you could potentially put something else there like rampage to push through bigger units. Things like that. But yeah, that was like a post-mortem of some sort. Just quickly check in because the list feels really good, well tuned, and as I mentioned earlier, it's nothing special. I'm pretty sure there's probably, if you check Eternal Warcry, there's probably a list that runs 100% of the same units, just because the idea and the options you have for a themed deck on this budget are so small that you, even if you don't know what you're doing, you kind of come up with a list that looks kind of like this. And even if not, as mentioned earlier, there's so many mainstays. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 slots are basically mainstays in every color that can afford to run those cards right now. So that's interesting to know at least. And I hope you enjoyed this. There's not much to say about Rakano. It has been explored all the way through. There all the good options lie in front of us. It feels less interesting to play in my own opinion because your game plan falls down in 2 or 3 turns. You can even check from your starting hand if you're going to be able to win or not. But if you want fast, efficient games, you win up until Masters. You might hit a brick wall somewhere where people play extremely greedy control lists or just mid-range units, which will outvalue you over time the bigger they get. But if you get through with your game plan, you have fast games and win more than 50% and you're gonna rank up. So to the whole meta thing back that I mentioned earlier, if you are on a serious budget and you want to rank up and be competitive, this might be your best plan or your best deck to stick with until you can actually afford whatever you're aiming for. This is also a pretty decent list for gauntlet grinding in case you actually enjoy this. And if you're a new player, don't be afraid to feel that gauntlet is fucking boring, because it actually is. So if you feel like, oh, I should grind gauntlet, I need golds. Nah, just go ranked. Even if you lose, it doesn't matter. You learn, you get experience, you learn how the synergies work, you start to understand what units and spells you can expect from which colors that your opponent is running. You will realize that when your opponent is running 3 colors and has blue, they probably have card draw, like Wisdom of the Elders or Hailstorm. Basically, if you want information on the game, don't just hide in Gauntlet or play against Forge AI. Try to get your feet wet, get in there, have fun. If you don't enjoy this deck, we have plenty of other decks either on Eternal Warcry or on this channel to figure out and check out. And just find something that you enjoy. Just because this is the best deck doesn't mean you have to enjoy it. Please don't get me wrong. I'm just showcasing this because I feel forced to show the best budget deck. There could be a world where a non-gunslinger Rakano list is better, but I was considering all the options, and a 3/3 for free with Warcry is less good than a 1/2/3 that you can then buff up in the same turn instead of playing one big dude per turn. So that's the reasoning behind how we got this list together. I didn't take this from anywhere, but I'm pretty sure there are other lists out there that look exactly the same. I will upload this to Eternal Warcry and then click on compare and see if we find anything that's close or resembles this exact list. I think there will be something in the 98 percentile, maybe even 99. Maybe not 100, even though it would make sense. Most likely the unpredictable outlaw will be cut from those lists because it feels meh. And yeah, I think that should be all for now. I will most likely mention some cards in the actual link that you can use to upgrade this, but I would take this as a complete package for now until you feel comfortable walking away from full aggro and going to a mid-range approach by adding 4, 5, 6, 7 mana cost cards. Because I think that might be the best way to go about this. If we cut all the Gunslinger synergy from the deck, the shell is not as impressive anymore. Like, we still have Oni Ronin and Rakano Outlaw, but it would look severely different. And that could do more harm than good. So I will most likely post a mid-rangey approach of Rakano with other different interesting units like the Unseen Commander we saw in the last game. And yeah, from there, we basically go from there. Yeah, would make sense to behave this way. So yeah, instead of explaining every single unit and trying to explain the synergies, I decided to actually jump directly into games and give like some thoughts about whatever I was showcasing before, because I realized my videos get pretty long and sometimes I just get lost in ranting and brabbling like right now basically. So I'm trying to cut that down by getting right into the action and then at the end give some thoughts, because most of the gameplay, once you played Eternal for some hours, you don't need a dude telling you, oh, we find this hour here and we torch that. Should be pretty self-explanatory at some point. Even though it's still a budget list aimed at beginners, I think you can figure out how to play this deck on your own. And if you have any questions, if you got questions for replacements, if you have some cool ideas, just let me know. I'm more than happy to share my thoughts with you. And I always appreciate likes on the videos. I really, really do. It feels really amazing to see that people like what I'm doing. So if you feel that's worth it, please subscribe and like my video and let me know what I could improve on, what I'm doing well. And we go from there and keep improving until we meet where it's acceptable. Thank you very much for your time and catch you soon.